I kissed a stranger on New Year's Eve, but now I'm leaving the country. I walked through the airport gates, my steps slow and heavy with reluctance. My heart tugged, urging me to turn around and stay just a little longer. The memories were vivid. The drinks, the fireworks, the thrill of New Year's Eve, and the warmth of Liam's embrace. I wish this night could last forever, Liam had said, his blue eyes searching mine. Me too, I whispered, heart racing, but he didn't tell him I'd be leaving in a few hours. Liam smiled softly, pulling me close. Happy New Year, Ren. His words echoed as I let out a sigh. I had made my choice. Returned to Korea, my job, and my life. That beautiful night was just a dream, and yet as I stepped onto the plane, the ghost of his kiss burned on my lips. A searing reminder of the man of my dreams. Flashbacks. 4 days ago, the streets of New York buzzed with energy, the December air crisp against my cheeks. Skyscrapers lit the night and yellow cabs honked below. It was my first solo trip, just me and the city. Both exhilarating and terrifying, but I promised myself to step out of my comfort zone. Back in Korea, I was an introvert, going from work to home with no social life. But here in front of the Empire State Building, I hoped for something different. New experiences, new friends. At the top, the city's sparkling lights took my breath away. I didn't notice the child darting past me until I stumbled, almost losing my balance. Careful, wouldn't want a beautiful face like yours getting bruised, a girl with a high ponytail said with a smirk. Startled, I blinked at her. Hi, I'm Jessica, she said, offering a hand. Ren, I replied, shaking it. You look nervous. Don't worry, I'm not going to kidnap you, she teased, laughing. Her lightheartedness made me laugh too, and soon Jessica and I became fast friends. We spent the next few days exploring New York, sightseeing, eating, and hitting bars. Jessica's outgoing nature drew others to us, and we quickly gathered a group. Josh, a lively local, Hana, a sharp-witted Japanese woman, and Matteo, an exuberant Italian. An unlikely bunch, but we clicked. Hey, how about we spend New Year's Eve in Times Square, Jessica yelled, her eyes sparkling with excitement. The countdown, the crowd, fireworks, everything. Josh grinned. And after that we could hit the Magic Hour rooftop bar for the after party. The view's amazing. I shifted uncomfortably. I'm not sure, guys. There's going to be so much crowd. Come on, Ren. You didn't come to New York to sleep in, Jessica teased. It won't be fun without you. Yes, please, Ren, Hana encouraged softly. Say yes, man, Matteo added, waving his hand. Just imagine the food and drinks. I laughed, unable to resist. Fine, I'll come. No need to work so hard to convince me. I smiled at their cheers. On the day of New Year's Eve, the energy in Times Square was electric. Crowds bundled in coats, waving glow sticks, and music blaring from the speakers. Jessica was right. This was unlike anything I'd experienced. I couldn't help but grin, getting caught up in the excitement. Isn't this incredible? Jessica shouted over the noise, her face beaming. It's insane, I yelled back. Then I saw him. A tall man with blonde hair, his smile cutting through the chaos. Our eyes met, and for a moment, everything else seemed to fade away. He walked toward me with a confident stride. You seem familiar, he said, tilting his head, curiosity in his eyes. I doubt that. It's my first time in New York. I am from Korea, I replied. Oh, you're from Korea, he said, smiling. Traveling solo? Solo, I smiled back. But I've made a few friends. You don't seem like the outgoing type, he observed. I'm not, I admitted, feeling a little self-conscious. See that girl over there? That's Jessica. She introduced me to everyone. I'm Ren. That makes sense. I am Liam, he laughed warmly. So, what's your story? I hesitated. I came here to escape my routine life, to try something different, nothing special. Well, I'm still interested in hearing it, he said softly, leaning in. His gaze made my heart skip a beat. There was a spark between us, undeniable, electric. So tell me more about Korea, Liam said. I shrugged. It's famous for its food and culture, but as for me, I'm kind of a workaholic. My family's traditional, so I usually spend time alone. No girlfriend, he teased, raising an eyebrow. How could anyone resist that cute face? I flushed. What? I'm not cute. Liam chuckled and leaned closer, his breath warm against my ear. Well, I find you very cute. My face burned, heart racing. He leaned back, hands in pockets, gazing at the city lights. So, what's the first thing you'll do when you get back to Korea, he asked. Visit my favorite restaurant, I grinned. I've been craving Korean food. What about you? Unwind at home, enjoy a good cup of coffee, he said, smiling contentedly. I smirked. I didn't take you for a quiet person. You're not wrong, but even a social butterfly needs a break. Cheers to that, I said, grinning. So what's your favorite thing about New York, Liam asked. The people. Their energy makes you feel alive. What about you? Tonight, he said simply. New Year's Eve? I nodded in agreement. No, he smiled. What made tonight special was meeting you. I laughed nervously, feeling shy. You don't even know me. Yet somehow I feel like I've known you forever, he said, his voice soft and earnest. I stared at him, my heart fluttering wildly. The noise around us faded, replaced by the rhythm of my heartbeat. 2 hours later, we continued talking as if the world around us didn't exist until the world's excited chant for the countdown snapped me back to reality. Let's count down together, Liam suggested, his voice laced with excitement and something else. Something softer. Sure, I replied, a smile tugging at my lips. 5, 4, Liam echoed, his gaze locked on mine. 3, 2, 1, Liam whispered, and before I could process what was happening, he'd closed the distance between us. As the fireworks exploded in brilliant colors above, our lips met, and the world seemed to pause. The cold December air, the deafening cheers of the crowd, even the dazzling lights. All of it faded away, leaving just the two of us. My heart raced, matching the rhythm of the sparks lighting up the sky. I instinctively pulled Liam closer, not wanting the moment to slip away. For a while we stayed like that, wrapped in each other's arms, as the city celebrated around us. Happy New Year, Liam yelled in my ear. Happy New Year, I yelled back, a strange thrill bubbling inside me. Just then I heard Jessica calling my name and turned to see my friends waving me over. I've gotta go. My friends are calling me, I said, the regret creeping into my voice. So soon? His tone carried a hint of sadness. Perhaps we'll meet again, I replied, offering a faint smile before quickly walking away, not giving him a chance to say another word. I soon reunited with my friends, and with a few drinks in hand and a lingering memory of Liam on my mind, the rest of the night slipped away in a blur. Flashback ends. 2 days later, I was back in Korea now, surrounded by the warmth of my family. It felt good to be home. My parents were thrilled to see me again, their faces lighting up as they bombarded me with questions about the USA. The excitement in their voices reminded me of how much I had missed them. Yet in the back of my mind, the memory of Liam lingered like a fleeting dream I couldn't quite shake. I did not attempt to contact him. Not that I had any way to. So I buried the thoughts of him deep, convincing myself to focus on my work and return to the rhythm of my life. A week later. So Ren, did you make any close friends in the USA? My mother teased with a knowing smile. I knew exactly what she meant, and for a moment Liam's face flashed in my mind. But I couldn't tell them about him. They'd never accept it. Of course not. I already told you everything, I said casually, forcing a small smile. You should start thinking about marriage, my mother pressed. It's the perfect time. Do you want us to find a suitable girl for you, my father added? No, I blurted out, louder than intended. Taking a deep breath, I added firmly. There's no need for that. Please, stop bringing it up. My father shrugged, dropping the subject for now, but his words lingered. Liam's warm smile and the memory of our kiss lingered in my mind, haunting me with bittersweet clarity. I wasn't entirely sure what I felt for him, but I knew one thing. I couldn't ignore it any longer. I had to find him. The next day, while flipping through my travel journal, I found Jessica's number tucked inside. A little surprised she must have slipped in. Grateful now, I quickly dialed her. Ren? I thought you'd never call, she exclaimed. I chuckled. Honestly, I didn't even realize I had your number. Found it by accident. Figures. So what do you need, she teased. I sighed. Do you remember the guy I was talking to on New Year's Eve, Liam? I need help finding him. Her excitement was palpable. Your crush, huh? Good thing I left my number. I'll reach out to my friends in New York and see what I can do. Thanks, Jess. You're amazing. Don't forget it. Bye, she quipped before hanging up. My heart raced with the possibility of seeing Liam again. The day suddenly felt brighter, and I couldn't stop smiling. 2 days later. Days passed, each one feeling longer than the last as I waited for Jessica's call, and finally, one evening, she sent me his number. I stared at the number in my hand, torn between hope and nerves. What if he didn't remember me? Taking a deep breath, I pushed the doubts aside and dialed. Hello, Liam speaking. Who's this? It's me, Ren, I stammered, my heart pounding. There was a brief pause before I heard his voice brighten. Ren, I can't believe it. I thought I'd never hear from you again. I exhaled, relief flooding over me. I thought the same, but I couldn't forget you. It was impossible to forget you too, Liam replied softly, his words laced with warmth. How have you been? I asked hesitantly. Miserable, without you. His words struck a chord, and I felt a pang in my chest. Same here. I was hoping maybe we could meet. Really? He asked, his voice tinged with disbelief. I thought you didn't want to see me again. That's why you ran off that night. I'm sorry, I said, guilt evident in my tone. I was being an idiot. I didn't know what to do. Well, he replied, a hint of a smile on his voice. It's never too late to fix things. What if I come to Korea to meet you? Last time we met in New York, my home. This time, I'd love to see yours. My heart raced with excitement. That sounds amazing. I can't wait for you to come. Same here. I'll be counting down the days, he said warmly before he ended the call. A wave of joy washed over me as I placed the phone down. The thought of seeing Liam again made everything around me feel brighter. 3 days later, I waited impatiently outside the airport, my heart racing with excitement. It had been so long since I last saw Liam, and I couldn't help but wonder how things would be between us now. Would he pull me into a tight embrace, or would there be a bit of awkwardness in the air? I was eager to find out. A few moments later, Liam walked out of the airport, and my breath caught in my chest. Without thinking, I rushed toward him, my arms instinctively reaching out. To my relief, he was already moving toward me, a warm smile on his face. Before I knew it, we were in each other's arms, holding on to each other like nothing had changed. Couldn't wait to see me, huh? Liam teased, a playful smirk tugging at the corners of his lips. I smiled, feeling my heart race just a little faster. Every second was difficult to bear without you, I replied honestly, my gaze locking with his. He chuckled softly, his fingers brushing my cheek most tenderly. Well, I'm here now, and I'm not going anywhere, he said, his voice low and reassuring. I leaned into his touch, feeling the warmth of his presence wash over me. I'm glad you're here, I murmured, my heart finally at ease. 3 hours later, I helped Liam settle at my place before taking him to a nearby Korean restaurant for lunch. I'm so excited to try ramen. I've never had it before, Liam exclaimed. Well, I won't just have you trying ramen in Korea. I've ordered a bit of everything. Here, try these soup dumplings, I said, pushing a plate toward him. Oh my, these are amazing, Liam said, his mouth full. Here, try this kimchi stew and Korean fried chicken. It's much more flavorful than the American version. You're right, it's full of flavor. It's so spicy, I can feel my mouth burning, he said, his eyes watering. I'm sorry, I thought you could handle some heat. Here, drink this. It's sweet, I offered, handing him a glass of a cool, sugary drink. Liam took a sip, sighing in relief. That's much better. But wow, this food is incredible. I don't think I'll ever be able to go back to regular fried chicken after this. Yes, it is, I chuckled. Liam smiled and looked at me. You seem much more comfortable here than in New York. It's nice to see you like this. Oh, that's just because I come to this restaurant often. But I also feel comfortable with you. Really? I thought I was the only reason, Liam teased. Very funny. You know so much about me now. Tell me about yourself, too. Well, I'm a lawyer, and I have quite a few friends in New York. I'm also really close to my parents, just like you. Oh, that's great to hear. Maybe I could meet them someday, I said. Our conversation flowed effortlessly long after we finished eating, and before we knew it, we were heading back home, feeling even more connected. 2 days later, I held Liam's hand as we wandered through the bustling Korean market. His presence felt natural now, almost as if we were a couple. Look, there's the sock shop I told you about, I said, pointing excitedly. Socks. Of all things, why socks? Liam asked, shaking his head in amused disbelief. Because they're not just socks, I said, dragging them toward the shop. These are special. They've got cute designs, funky patterns, and some even have little characters on them. You won't find socks like these in New York. Liam raised an eyebrow, clearly unconvinced, but amused. All right, enlighten me. Inside, the walls were lined with every kind of sock imaginable. Colorful, quirky, and utterly unique. I grabbed a pair. See, aren't these adorable? He chuckled. Adorable isn't the word I'd use, but I'll admit they're unique. Unique enough to bring back as souvenirs, I teased. Fine, he said, surrendering with a grin. Pick a couple for me. But only if I get to choose one pair for you, too. Deal, I said, laughing. Before long, I was tugging him into another shop filled with Korean snacks. You have to take these back to New York, I said enthusiastically, holding up a bag of treats. You're trying to send me back already? He asked, feigning disappointment. No way. I don't want you to leave at all. I wish you could stay here forever. If you really mean that, he said softly, pulling me into a warm hug, maybe I'll just stay. 1 week later, Liam and I spent a lot of time together, exploring Korean food, shopping, or simply wandering through the streets. With each passing day, it felt like we were becoming more connected, as though our bond had been forged over lifetimes. Today, I was taking him to see the cherry blossom trees, one of Korea's most breathtaking sights. We walked hand in hand, taking our time, fully enjoying the quiet comfort of each other's company. When we finally reached the cherry blossom trees, Liam's eyes widened in awe as he took in the beauty around us. It's so beautiful, unreal, magnificent. No words could describe it, he whispered in awe. I smiled, watching his expression as he looked around. I told you it'd be worth it. Cherry blossoms have this magic about them, don't you think? They do, he said, turning to me, his eyes warm. But it's not just the trees. It's sharing this with you. I felt a blush creep up my cheeks and nudged him playfully. You're such a smooth talker. He laughed, pulling me closer. No, I mean it. Being here, being with you, it just feels right. Do you think we'll always have moments like this? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Liam tilted his head, his gaze steady. I don't know what the future holds, but if I have a say in it, I'll make sure we do. With that, he kissed me gently. I kissed him back, pulling him closer, surrendering to the warmth of his embrace. Beneath the cherry blossoms, our kiss felt like something out of a fairy tale, as if the world itself had paused just for us. 2 days later, I was quietly getting ready for another long day at work, trying not to disturb Liam. You're going to work again? Liam's sleepy voice cut through the silence, laced with a hint of a pout. I'm sorry if I woke you, but I have to be on time, I said, glancing over apologetically. Couldn't you take just 1 day off? He asked, his voice tinged with disappointment. I chuckled softly, trying to lighten the mood. Korea isn't the US, Liam. The work culture here is strict. I can't afford to slack off like you. His expression darkened. Slack off? You think I'm slacking by staying here? My work's taking a hit too, but I stayed because of you. He snapped, his voice rising. I froze, realizing how thoughtless my words had sounded. I'm sorry, I said quickly. That's not what I meant. Liam turned away, his back to me, clearly upset. I stood there for a moment, unsure of what to say. Eventually, I left for work, my chest heavy with unease. It seemed that our relationship wasn't as perfect as I'd wanted to believe. A week later, we sat on the rooftop, the cool night air wrapping around us as stars glittered above, though their brilliance paled in comparison to the light in Liam's eyes. Time seemed to pause, the world fading until only the quiet rhythm of our breathing and the warmth between us remained. Liam reached for my hand, his fingers intertwining with mine. You know, I could get used to this. Us, being here like this, he said softly. I smiled, glancing up at the stars. It feels unreal, like we're in our own little universe. His thumb brushed against my hand. I never thought I'd find someone who makes me feel so complete. My heart swelled, though a small ache lingered. I'm glad you're here, Liam. I don't think I've ever been this happy, but... He tilted his head. But? I hesitated. I'm scared. My family will never accept us, and your life in New York is so different from mine. Liam cupped my face, his touch steady. We'll figure it out. It won't be easy, but I'm not going anywhere. You're worth it. I love you, Ren. His confession surprised me, but I let my heart speak. I love you too, Liam. I can't wait to see what the future holds for us. He smiled, pulling me into a tender kiss. Under the vast expanse of stars, our love felt boundless and unshakable. A few days later, Liam and I were lounging in our room, wrapped up in each other's embrace, simply enjoying the quiet relaxation of the moment. "Ren, when will you introduce me to your parents?" Liam asked, his voice soft but insistent. "It's not easy, Liam," I replied, looking down. "I'm not sure they'll accept you. They're very conservative." "You could at least try for my sake," he pouted, his eyes searching mine. "I'm sorry, I want to, but—" I trailed off, unsure how to explain. "What is it, Ren?" "I feel like you don't want to take this relationship further," he said, his tone growing tense. I hesitated, my heart racing. "Liam, that's not true. I love you, but I'm just not sure moving so fast is the best thing for us." "Then do you want to keep me waiting forever?" His words cut through the air, and he turned away, the distance between us palpable. I sighed deeply, feeling the weight of his frustration. "Okay, I'll talk to my parents. Are you happy now?" His expression softened slightly, though there was still a trace of hurt in his voice. "I'm better," he replied, but I could tell he wasn't entirely convinced. 2 days later, Liam and I strolled through the bustling streets, city lights casting a warm glow around us. The cool air and the rhythm of the city felt calming as we walked side by side, enjoying the simplicity of the moment. Liam nudged me, his eyes sparkling. "So, what's next on our adventure?" he asked with a grin. I glanced at the street vendors. "How about ice cream over there?" "In this chilly weather?" he asked, amused. "Afraid," I teased. "Of course not. Let's go." As we enjoyed our ice cream, a coworker, Seo Jean, approached. I quickly let go of Liam's hand, not wanting to give him something to gossip about. "Good evening, Ren Li. Who's this?" Seo Jean asked. "Oh, just a friend visiting from the US, I replied, introducing him. After a brief chat, Seo Jean left. I didn't realize how upset Liam was. "Why did you hide the truth?" Liam asked, his voice tight. "What do you mean?" I asked, confused. "I'm your boyfriend, not just a friend. Are you ashamed of me?" he asked, hurt. "No, it's just that he's a coworker and I didn't want office gossip." "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to hurt you." I apologized sincerely. "It's all right. I overreacted," he said, softening. "Thanks. I promise I won't do it again," I said, smiling. "From now on, I'll be your proud boyfriend." Liam chuckled and pulled me into a tight embrace, and everything felt perfect again in that moment. A week later. "So, is this the man you wanted us to meet?" my mother asked, her gaze fixed on Liam. Liam sat quietly across from them, hands folded, saying nothing. "I still can't believe you're in love with a man, Ren," my father muttered, shaking his head. "And an American." My mother sighed. "Your father's right, Ren. How could you hide this from us?" "I didn't mean to hide it. I just didn't know how to tell you," I explained, my voice wavering. Their expressions hardened. The tension in the room was unbearable. "You've embarrassed us today, Ren. This isn't how we raised you," my father snapped. Tears welled up in my eyes, but I fought them back. "I'm sorry, but I love him. Don't talk nonsense. I'll find you a suitable girl," my mother cried, her disappointment cutting deep. I couldn't believe they were saying this in front of Liam. Before I could respond, Liam stood up, his voice strong. "Don't talk to him like that! He's your son!" Liam shouted. "You shouldn't meddle in our family matters," my mother snapped back. "I will meddle," Liam said, determination in his eyes. "I love him, and I won't stand by and watch him suffer." I reached for him, my heart aching. "Liam, please, don't make it worse." "But things are already worse, Ren," Liam replied softly. "Look at how they're treating you. They don't deserve you." The shock and hurt in my parents' eyes broke me. "Liam, stop! They're my parents!" I shouted, frustration and desperation in my voice. He paused, his back still turned. "And I am nothing to you?" His words stung, and before I could answer, he walked out, his steps filled with resolve. I apologized quietly, then ran after him, my heart pounding. I couldn't let him walk away. Not like this. 1 hour later, Liam had finished packing his bags when I arrived home. My heart sank as I saw him standing there with his luggage, ready to leave. "You're leaving?" I managed to ask, my voice barely above a whisper. "Yes, since I'm clearly not needed here," he responded coldly. "They are my parents, Liam. How could I let you speak to them like that?" I yelled, frustration bubbling to the surface. "I was only trying to stand up for you," he replied, his tone still distant. "I didn't ask you to!" I snapped, my anger and pain mixing together. I understand. I won't trouble you again. Goodbye, Ren. I watched helplessly as Liam walked out of my house, the door closing softly behind him. As the silence enveloped me, I collapsed to the ground, my body shaking with sobs. I had lost the most precious person in my life, and deep down, I knew I would never get him back. 2 weeks later, I tried to lose myself at work, but it was impossible. Liam's face kept resurfacing, his voice echoing in my mind. I couldn't escape the guilt of making him leave. Every time I thought about it, regret washed over me. I hadn't spoken much to my parents since that day, unsure how to face them. I tried calling Liam countless times, but he never picked up. I couldn't blame him. My heart ached knowing I had let the best thing in my life slip away. Ren, I heard your friend went back to America. Good for you. Now you can look at marriage prospects, my mother said, relieved. Mom, please. I told you not to bring this up. Liam wasn't just a friend. I loved him, I snapped. Ren, don't talk to your mother like that. That boy has spoiled your mind, my father yelled. The familiar ache in my chest grew. How could they be so dismissive? I realized they would never accept me for who I am. I had to leave. Mom, Dad, you're wrong. Liam didn't spoil my mind. He showed me the truth, that you'll never be happy for me. I'm done listening. I'm leaving for the USA, and I'm never coming back to Korea. Ren, what are you saying? My father's voice cracked, disbelief and anger in his words. Ren, stop! My mother cried out. But it was no use. I walked away, their voices growing faint. Later, I booked my tickets to New York. The weight of the decision was heavy, but my heart was set. I would find Liam again, no matter the distance or consequences. I couldn't stay in a place that didn't accept me. 2 days later, I stood in front of the apartment, unsure if Liam would welcome me. Taking a deep breath, I knocked. After a moment, the door slowly opened. Ren? Liam said in surprise, staring at me. Yes, it's me, I replied, embarrassed, looking down. What are you doing here? He asked, frustrated. I came here for you. Really? You finally found time for me, he said sarcastically. I'm sorry, Liam. I listened to my parents my whole life, not knowing they were wrong. How could I have realized that you were right? Tears welled up in my eyes as I looked at him. Don't look at me like that. You think I'm just going to forgive you? He snapped. No, but I'll wait for you until you do, I said softly. Ren, you're impossible, he shot back. Do you still hate me? I asked, worried. How could I? How could anyone hate you when you're like this? I love you so much. I love you too, Liam. I missed you, I replied, then leaned in to kiss him. 2 weeks later, I settled into Liam's apartment in the rhythm of New York life comfortably. To my surprise, I didn't miss home as much as I thought I would. Liam had helped me find a respectable job here, and I couldn't be happier. So, are you still afraid of the future, Ren? Liam asked one day as we reached in his cozy living room. No, not anymore, I replied, smiling. I can't wait to see what the future holds for us. Really? You don't want to hide anymore? Liam teased, raising an eyebrow. Never again. Living without you in those weeks was almost impossible. I missed you so much, I said, my gaze softening as I met his eyes. I missed you too, Liam murmured, his voice low and sincere. I thought I'd never see you again. The weight of his words lingered in the air, and in that moment, everything felt right. Our time apart had made our connection stronger. Slowly, I leaned in, closing the distance between us, until our lips met in a kiss that spoke volumes. It was slow, tender, as if we were savoring every moment of the love we had fought for. When we finally pulled away, our foreheads rested together, both of us smiling, knowing that whatever the future held, we'd face it together. 1 month later, I sat nervously in front of Liam's parents, unsure of what to say. You can relax, son, Mrs. Stone said with a kind smile. Thanks, Mrs. Stone, I replied awkwardly. I'm surprised Liam found someone as sweet as you. Most of his friends are too wild for me, she chuckled. Mom, don't embarrass me, Liam groaned, feigning annoyance. So, Ren, what do you like about our son? Mr. Stone asked. He's confident and easygoing, I stammered. Don't scare him, dear, Mrs. Stone said, smiling at me. Well, Mom, Dad, What do you think of Ren? Liam asked playfully. I think he's too good for you, Mr. Stone teased, making everyone laugh. You two look wonderful together. I'm happy for you both, Mrs. Stone added warmly. Their acceptance was overwhelming, so different from my own family. For the first time, I felt truly at peace. Liam turned to me, eyes full of affection. Ren, will you marry me? Yes, I can't wait to marry you, I exclaimed, pulling him into a tight embrace. Liam's face lit up as he kissed me softly, his arms holding me close. In that moment, everything felt perfect, as if my world had finally fallen into place. Conclusion. Liam and I were married shortly after. His parents had embraced me as their own, especially after hearing my story. I couldn't have been more grateful for their acceptance. I never contacted my own parents again, finally finding a place where I was truly accepted. We invited all my friends from the New York trip to our wedding, and in a short time we had grown closer than I could have ever imagined. Jessica remained as outgoing and wild as ever, but she had found a partner for all her antics. I wasn't just happy for her, I was grateful to her for bringing Liam into my life. She too was overjoyed for me. We stayed in touch and became best friends. Liam and I learned to put our differences aside. While we still argue from time to time, we never let those moments define us. Living alongside him opened my eyes to a whole new world. The connection we felt when we first met, the sense that we had known each other forever, became our truth. The end. Question. Have you ever met someone and felt like you've known them forever? Thanks for watching. Consider subscribing to become a part of our Rainbow Force and stay wholesome.